Well, hi there. You're watching and or listening to Podcast is Broken, a weekly podcast where we try to make Canadian news and politics more funner. I'm Brittlestar.
I'm Steve Boots, and I say it's even more fun.
I'm Lisa, and I say it is amusant.
Oh,
très bien. Ooh la la.
Podcast is Broken
Bonjour.
after dark.
Bonjour.
How are you guys doing? You guys are well?
Yeah.
Everything's good?
Yeah, doing
Awesome.
good.
Doing fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. A little tired. I've got a little bit of the travel rundowns. You know what I mean? I feel like I need a night, just a good night's sleep, and then I was in Halifax this morning, or rather last week. Not this morning. This morning I woke up in my own bed. But yeah, so it's been a little bit much. And you know, I give my all. That's the thing.
You do.
I'm working, I'm filming, and I'm giving my all.
You see, after airline travel, I just feel like invigorated. After a small bag of pretzels and a $14 chicken Caesar wrap, I am
That's
like,
you.
Off to the races.
Peak performance ready.
Get a good shower and a long nap.
Exactly. So there's been lots of interesting stuff happening. But the one thing that I find the most interesting, we talked about how briefly before we started recording that the president of the United States had an attempted assassination merely 2 weeks ago, and nobody cares anymore.
Yeah, the news cycle really sprinted right past it.
Well, it's because his ear is healed completely. It's magic.
It is.
It's like nothing
also
happened.
Yeah.
There's that, and there's the fact that somehow that wasn't even the most bonkers thing that happened that week.
No.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been like, especially U.S. politics have been nuts. But Canadian politics, of course, is getting weird too.
It sure is.
Yeah. Speaking of weird, one of the things that we've noticed is the use by the Democrats south of the border, our American friends, to counter some of the GOP propaganda messaging.
We'll call it messaging.
Is to say basically that it's weird and the people purveying it are weirdos. And initially I was like, this is like a little bit similar to like Polyev calling Trudeau a wacko.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I don't know if I feel good about it. And then I thought, maybe I do feel good about it, because as Rachel Gilmore pointed out in a post, when someone calls you weird, you saying, I'm not weird, just makes you sound weird.
Right?
Which I kind of like.
Although I do love that for a lot of folks, the response to being called weird is just to go way weirder.
Yeah.
Just to suddenly start talking like a supervillain in an anime. It's like, I will hunt you to the ends of the earth. And you're like, yeah, not weird at all.
Completely normal. Yeah.
Definitely haven't proven anybody's point. No, sir.
It's had an interesting impact, though. We've seen that in the last few days.
So I have a theory about this.
Okay.
So when you talk about like any sort of authoritarian movement, and in particular like fascist movements, but any authoritarian movement in general, aesthetics are really important. Giving the appearance of power is really important.
Right.
So that's like, think about like when the Nazi SS had like skulls and black trench coats. It was meant to convey a certain appearance of power and menace and threat.
Sure.
And that's all by design, right? And so a lot of this sort of more authoritarian messaging does the same thing. It relies on this aesthetic of like, we're the powerful ones, and there's big eagles and flags and
fireworks
all of these
and
things,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
Right? These very powerful images that are used all the time. And so that aesthetic is really, really important because it feels like you're on a winning team. Feels like you're part of the powerful group.
Yeah.
And so as soon as that gets exposed as a bunch of grown-ups playing make-believe, it comes crumbling apart.
Yes.
Like as soon as like you see, Pierre Poilievre posing with his axe in his plaid shirt, and he's like, I will axe the tax. And you're like, okay, that's a grown-up who dressed up like a lumberjack to take pictures in a forest. That's weird, right?
Yeah.
And so it deflates that aesthetic of power. And as soon as you do that, it falls apart. And so the best example ever is, have either of you seen the movie Jojo Rabbit?
Oh, of course I have. You haven't seen it, Lisa?
Okay.
You have to see it. It's
incredible
so
movie.
good.
Incredible movie. But there's a scene where a group of like I think Gestapo or something, led by Stephen Merchant, show up at a house.
Yeah.
And they all start saying Heil and all that stuff.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they do it 37 times in the span of a minute.
Yeah.
To show just how ridiculous the aesthetics of all this really are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a big part of it, is undermining that sense of authority and sense of power. As soon as that veneer comes off, it's gone.
It's a
Right?
it's
Like-
a pretty simple campaign, right? I mean, it's easy to do because you can pick one of a multitude of different things from the other side that is weird. But I mean, on Twitter, we've seen it, right? There's the pictures, there's like it's gone for days now that's the insult is weird. Weird. Odd. Weird.
But-
So do you think there's a reason why weird is like, because outside of the parrots, the ones who repeat everything they hear, wacko hasn't really stuck.
No.
Weird is sticking. What do you think the difference
I think the
is?
difference is the fact that calling someone wacko seems like a questioning their mental competence,
Mm-hmm.
whereas weird is like it's bringing their choices, but it's not. It's saying like it's giving them an out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're a bit weird.
It's a
Stop
gentle.
being weird.
It's an
Which
oddity.
is funny because I think there's like a benefit to being weird. Like there's a good weird,
Totally.
Weird Al.
Yeah.
But there's also, there's that notion of being weird where it's like no one really wants to be described by people who don't really know them as weird because you're like, when you're trying to be taken seriously. Maybe that's the key. When you're trying to be taken seriously, you don't want people to say you're weird because you're like,
Mhm.
what have I missed? What have I
Mhm.
missed in this? How am I be presented here? What do I look like saying this? It's fascinating me because I think there's that notion of, as I saw another post about this saying, I'm glad we've abandoned when they go low, we go high, and just
Mhm.
calling out these weirdos. And I like
When they
that
go
idea.
low, we're going to aim slightly lower.
Yeah, it's not even aiming lower now because I was thinking like there's that whole cliche of saying or saying of don't fight with a pig because you just end up in the mud and the pig loves it. Something like that, right? So I was paraphrasing it. I don't have a lot of pig interactions.
No. Okay.
A lot of farm
Here's-
lexicon. Not for me.
No,
Here's the thing, though.
analogies.
Like, and I feel like all three of us have probably experienced this as creators on social media. Like, when it comes to responding to people, you get back the energy you give them,
Mhm.
right? And so if you get mad at somebody and you're like righteously outraged at some horrible thing they've said, you're giving them so much
Of
energy and they're
course.
just like, yes, good, more, be angry.
Yeah.
Like they're like the Emperor in Star Wars,
Yeah.
just like watching you. If you're just like, that was a weird thing to say. Anyways,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they got nothing. You gave them nothing.
I mean,
it's so deflating.
using the term weird is sort of like a elementary school playground type of insult,
Sure.
right? And I don't think, because I know there's going to be communities, I don't think it's being used in an ableist way, because I think as adults, those of us who have weirdness have learned to embrace that weirdness, right? So if someone says to me, "Ugh, you're so weird," I'm like, "Yeah, all
Yeah.
right, thank you." But for those who have a little bit of insecurity, when you say, "Wow, that's weird," it shoots their whole thing to shit. It's like staring at somebody's face when they're talking to you, and then they're like, "Do I have something on my nose?" Right? Like it just makes them feel like, oh, what do I need to do? Which I love. I love.
And with a lot of the nonsense that comes from this sort of authoritarian right, these sort of hardline commentators that are the ones who are really getting targeted by the weird, right? Like, it's not like an ordinary conservative voter on the street is
No.
just getting
No.
randomly called a weirdo.
No.
But what's happening is a lot of those folks, they act like they're these big libertarians, but in reality, they're pushing conformism.
Mhm.
Right?
Yes.
They're pushing conformity
Sure.
to gender norms, to expectations of society, all these things. They're pushing conformity in a bunch of different ways. And calling a conformist weird is the worst thing you can do.
Right.
Like, if you call me weird, I'm going to be like, yeah, in what way specifically?
Yeah, that's-
'Cause
that's-
I got a bunch.
I
Like,
got a
Weird
bunch.
Al Yankovic is like, if you're like, you're weird, he's gonna be like, hell yeah, what about it?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
that's kind of the whole deal, right? Like, it's weird is only an insult if you think being weird is bad.
Right.
It's a fascinating tactic because I think, Lisa, you're right. It's like when someone just stares at your face and you're like, is there something on my face? Is there something
Mhm.
in my teeth? What's going on here? And if there's any self-doubt there,
Yeah.
or even if there's not self-doubt, it doesn't even have to be self-doubt there. It just requires a check, a confidence check
Mhm.
in your argument and position, whatever. So like if the example of someone looking at you in the face and just staring at your face or one part of your face, try to
Mhm.
freak you out. If someone does that to me, I might go, no, I don't think there's anything on my face. I think I'm probably
It's
fine.
like,
I'm probably
if you
fine.
want to ruin somebody's day, just ask them, what's the matter? Is it your haircut?
It looks weird.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I think for the purposes of political purposes, calling someone or some
Oh, he's got the
Let me start
plain
that
flag.
again.
Man down.
Sorry.
It's the plain flag.
Exactly. 11 minutes and 10 seconds probably there. Owen's
That's what
making-
you get for turning on that tiny little air jet
Right.
you
That's
get.
what I have to do. Hang on.
He's got to go turn off the airplane.
Man, he left the plane in gear.
He left it running.
Oh, he forgot his little camera fan is what he did.
Oh.
I just realized I hadn't put on my camera fan and it was
That's what-
39 degrees Celsius.
Called
That's
it.
what Stu said.
Damn it.
Called it.
Anyway, as I was going to
So-
say, for political purposes, it's fascinating because you can call something weird or call someone weird who's pushing messaging that the reason you're saying it's weird is because you're like, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You haven't thought this through. And I think it's like when you see clips of people, I saw a fantastic clip of, what are they called? I can't remember what the account's called. But talking to an older couple, actually 2 women and a guy, it could have been a throuple. Listen,
Could have been a
I'm not here to
throuple.
judge. I'm not here to
2024,
judge.
people. 2024.
It's like listening to somebody describe a dream.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And,
And you were there?
and you were there.
But I was like above and I was
And
looking
then-
down.
Lou Diamond Phillips was serving us. And they said the worst part about the Democrats is that they allow post 14 up to 14 months abortion.
Mm.
And it was like the guy was
That's
like,
the worst.
No,
That's
they
the
don't. He's like,
worst.
yeah, like up to like 3 or 4 months after birth, they're allowed to abort the baby, and it's like, no.
you have to like
But
drive them to the
what's
center.
interesting
Like
is that it's like it makes no sense. That's not abortion anymore. It's just plain old murder.
right.
But I mean, it's that thing where it's like the guy saying to them, that's not true, wasn't enough. Oh, I think it is. I think it is true. But if he would have said to them, that's a bit weird, don't you think? I think there's an instantaneous thing that happens when people say that people think to themselves, that you kind of reflect, you kind of think back over what he just said, and you went, okay, wait, now that I'm listening to it, it does sound weird.
Well, I think absolutely. The worst thing for a lot of people is to not be considered as part of the group, right? Like I am the same as everybody else. So when you call out that and say weird, it's that conformist aspect of people, right? That are like, I just want to blend in. I just want to belong. And when you're saying I'm weird, it questions what I'm doing. It questions what I believe in. And it's so benign in its volley, but like the way that it's received, that's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So this really makes me, I wish I could remember the name of the study, but there was a behavioral study that was done a couple of years ago that looked at people across the political spectrum and tried to identify personality traits and sort of character traits that were associated with different sides of the political spectrum. And it wasn't like a judgmental thing. It was just like, what are the traits that sort of identify folks?
I was going to say, I think we've been doing
And-
that study for the last 4 years, quite honestly.
But one of the primary traits that they found identified progressives was openness to new experiences. But one of the primary traits that they found identified conservatives was in-group versus out-group thinking.
Mm.
And so as soon as somebody who thinks they're part of the in-group gets told, you're weird, their place in the in-group gets threatened that second. And they're just like, no, I'm not. I'm not weird. Look how not weird I am.
You're weird.
I'm gonna do
You're the
like,
weird one.
something far more extreme. And then they're like, look how not weird I am. I went through your Twitter posts from 2014 and found one where you made a joke that could be misinterpreted. Who's weird now?
You are.
I think it's that thing, right? It's a difference of like, if someone calls me weird, I'm like, I think it's also my age. The fact that I'm a middle-aged white guy, I'm pretty secure, pretty self-confident in a sense. It's like, yeah, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't know. Trump's in his 80s and he's
True.
been in
He's
like
a
a
special
lathe.
case, though. As someone said repeatedly, you can't make Donald Trump not be Donald Trump. But what's interesting about the weird thing working in the U.S. is that it seems to be working. For whatever reason, it seems to be working. And I don't know exactly if it's going to be a magic bullet or not. But then we've noticed it happening here in Canada as well, which is fascinating. Like the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, in case people don't know, 4 hours ago, quote tweeted a screenshot of Pierre Poilievre's tweet from earlier today, where Pierre Poilievre posted a graphic that said how to do communism. And it was a circular graphic: establish a new communist utopia, rob or kill the successful, force the rest to work for free, run out of food, starve to death, say it wasn't real communism, and then start to the top again: establish a new communist utopia. And he didn't comment on the graphic, but he just put sign here to have a prime minister. Well, I guess he kind of commented. Sign here to have a prime minister who doesn't admire basic communist dictatorships, and then gave a link. And I do want this as a quick aside. I love the fact that whenever Poilievre puts these things out, he puts like sign here to show the government that you're not going to take it anymore. Sign here to change things. Sign here to
give us your email address and contact information.
it's like, donate money.
This is just an email list. This is never being presented in Parliament. Anyway,
sometimes. So there is a slight wrinkle to that. So every time you get a petition with 25 signatures on it, you get another chance to stand and rise in the House to discuss it.
Right.
And so lots of times they're just trying to get TV time too.
Right. On the question period that everybody loves.
What a delight.
But anyway, Trudeau quote tweeted this with this screenshot of Poilievre's tweet with, I think this guy needs to touch grass. And then, and also posted in French, and my French accent's not very good. Je crois qu'il devrait aller prendre l'air. So this guy needs to get some air.
In both official languages, which you got to appreciate.
Right? But I mean, what's interesting to me is that there's 14,000 likes on the English tweet.
Poilievre got cooked bilingually. I love it.
And like Trudeau doesn't get those kind of likes normally on Twitter.
No.
But I think it sort of spoke to the fact it's like, oh, maybe the calling people weird and like going like, and just taking a step back and going, do you guys see this?
You okay? You okay? Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
you guys good over
You
there?
doing okay? I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting because like there really is no defense against it, right? Like, and I think that's a lot of
what does Poilievre say to this guy needs to touch grass? No, I don't.
Well,
I touch grass every day.
I immediately connected to my own personal experience as like a teacher and like school elections and mock parliaments and stuff. And what always happens, and it's unfortunate, but it really does always happen if you do like a mock legislature or anything like that, is you'll try to explain like there's sort of like these are the rules, but then there's some stuff that's not really like officially in the rules, but we all do it. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to do that. And then there will be someone who realizes like if I just go rogue and say whatever I want, I can just like take this whole thing over. And if the other kids just let that play out, they get destroyed.
Right.
But if they actually like start playing the same game, then they stand a fighting chance. And I think that's really what it comes down to is like, we can pretend that like high-minded decorum is going to save the day. They're losing. So you got to try something different.
Yeah.
And calling a spade is the move.
Well,
I like
Sorry,
it. I think it's important to kind of like, I mean, Poilievre's at a 10 all the time, right? He came out of the gate at a 10. So there's nowhere for you to go except down. So I'm not a fan of...
He's constantly screaming with his fist in the air.
Rubbing wood or throwing axes or whatever he's doing. But
yikes.
But when you show your
Podcast is
hand,
broken after dark.
bonjour.
It's French for some reason. French is just dirty. It's
right?
the dirty
French is
language.
dirtier.
It's dirty.
Je crois qu'il... No, okay. But when you're at a 10, you have nowhere to go. You've shown your hand, right? So I think Trudeau coming out and being just a little snarky every once in a while is good, right? Because it puts that question in, like, yeah, go touch some grass. Like, you are out there. You've got Karl Marx now over. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You don't even know the difference between communism and Marxism. And
that's it. Is like, if you want to insult a communist in like a way that'll just boil their blood, you call them a liberal.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And they'll just be like, no,
right?
But that.
I think
so
Owen, who's producing and listening to this, will agree with me. I think the way, if you want to insult a communist, the easiest way to do it is to go get them to visit Karl Marx's grave and pay £10 to go see this huge bust of his head.
You can't be serious.
Oh, yes. This is one of the things that Owen, when we were in the UK, he said, I want to go to Highgate Cemetery and I want to see 3 people's graves. I want to see Douglas Adams, I want to see George Michaels, and I want to see Karl Marx. And I was like, well, first of all, that's a super group.
Let's
diversity.
That's we like, right?
And you pay £10 to get into the cemetery, which they've been charging admission forever, like since the 1860s when they started. And you go, there's a signs up, and it's like, I know that Owen's one of his favorite pictures he has is washrooms this way, Karl Marx this way. And you go around the corner, and there's this huge bust, like this unbelievable huge head that is like, I'm trying to say, I mean, Owen, you're welcome to put in the chat how to describe this head. But I mean, it's mammoth. It's like 4 feet wide, and it's concrete and stone, and it's just massive. Like it's just the best. When we got a ride back from our Uber driver, when we left the cemetery, and the first thing the guy said was, "What I love best about this place is that people have to pay £10 to see Karl Marx's grave."
That is genius.
On the bright side, like, you feel like they must create a lot of green energies just from Karl Marx spinning in that grave.
Exactly.
The entire time.
Its power is North London.
I
think.
I was gonna make a joke. The time is gone. But when you said that there's like the sign for Karl Marx and then there's the sign for washrooms, I'm surprised that the George Michael sign wasn't there. Do you remember?
How dare you?
Do you remember? Come on. I love George Michael, but that's a good one.
That was gold. Well done.
What a careless whisper. Merci. That was terrible. His grave was lovely, actually. It was just like 3, him and his mom and his sister, I think, and his Greek name. And it was just really kind of, it was like, oh.
It's nice. It's just a real person, right? Yeah.
Really simple.
Anyway.
But yeah, I think what's interesting about Trudeau doing the thing with I keep saying what's interesting. There's lots of interesting things.
So much.
He's just interesting.
It is.
You know?
What I'm noting about the How to Do Communism post by Polyev and then the response from Trudeau is that there's no way you can fight back to a post about how to do communism that is so inane and so stupid and so flawed and so ridiculous, other than to say, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
Right?
Well,
that's the translation.
So I was actually thinking about this because I actually disagree. There is another way to go against this.
Okay.
Because my immediate thought was to be pissed off. Because when he's saying starve to death there.
Oh, or rob or kill the successful?
Yeah.
No, but like starve to death is the Holodomor. Like it is, the historical record, you can argue about genocide versus agricultural collapse. You know, people will argue in the comments endlessly. But millions died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like this was a catastrophe. And it like my immediate thought was to be outraged that somebody would dare joke about it. And I don't think that sticks. I don't think outrage works on this stuff.
No, I don't think it does
genuinely.
At all. I think it's sort of been the classic response from people who are not Republicans in the US, people who are not conservatives here in Canada, is you see these things and read these things and you get angry. And you go, oh my God, how could anyone possibly say that? And then it just gets perceived as emotional reaction. It just gets perceived as nonsense, as opposed to seeing something like this and going, "This is what the hell's this guy talking about? This
Well,
is
and
not
his
the way real life is.
his base wouldn't understand that. That's the problem, right? They don't understand the implications of what he's saying. And so when we come out usually with this is wrong and these are the 1,000 reasons why, you're right, we're emotional. So I think I'm gonna use the whole what I find interesting. I think we need to take that as something as a like, a pat on the back. No, to some people, you know what I mean? Like people who are putting things out that are valid.
Questionable.
Well,
valid.
valid.
Valid, but questionable. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Yeah, discourse is important.
Yeah.
I think there's a big layer to it too of, have you ever been angry at somebody
No.
who doesn't get angry back?
Right now,
who doesn't get angry back?
Like,
yeah,
like when you're getting mad at them and they're giving you nothing, and you just feel like an ass. You're
well,
like,
I mean, this ties back to the
suck.
this ties back to the like dealing with online comments and not getting into a dialogue with people. That idea in my mind, I came up with this phrase, which isn't very poetic, but was basically I like to let those comments underneath my posts that someone's trying to get at me and trying to engage and trying to get me into a fight and dialogue online. And I think I'm just gonna let this sit there, just like a dog turd turns like white and dries out. I don't need to do anything with it. I'll just let it sit there. It's fine.
So
yeah,
I that's why I do my little goofy TikToks with the filters. Is because it's my way of loudly announcing to that person that I don't take them seriously at all.
Yeah.
I just ignore.
And it works.
Yeah, I just ignore. Or, I mean, depending on what it is that they've written, I'll just do something like no. And that pisses them off.
Yes.
Disagree.
No.
So do we think this is a magic bullet? Like, do we think this is the way to deal with it? Because I mean, I think that we've certainly learned from experience like that. I mean, one of the things that's good about it is that I personally, and I think a lot of other people, are tired of giving people the benefit of the doubt. Meaning like, oh, what is he trying to say with this? It's like, no. This is what they said.
Yeah.
We don't have to figure out what they were trying to say. That's not up to us to do that. We just have to take what they said.
Yeah.
So I think I'm on board with the idea of just being like, we can't argue with nonsense. So we just got to say, well, that's dumb. That's just silly.
And arguing with nonsense is impossible in a lot of these cases because the person you're arguing with knows it's nonsense. Like they know it's full of holes, and they are just going to defend it to their grave using the same like tired phrases they've used again and again. Fighting nonsense with facts isn't working, so fighting it with saying like, "Okay, carry on, you weirdo."
Well, that
seems to be,
and that's the thing with like a Poilievre who's been campaigning for so long is that the time for benefit of the doubt, or he'll explain what he was meaning, or that's gone now, right? Like
he didn't read the T-shirt.
He didn't read the T exactly. He just makes up things based on whatever the story may potentially be. But like he's
just riffing,
right?
Just like jazz.
Yeah, yeah, just doing that on his little Twitter. But that's the thing. He's had opportunity to explain. He hasn't. He's still going to come out with these ridiculous pictures and slogans or whatever. So yeah, I think at this point we're just like, okay, you're weird. Right? Like,
well, I hope we're at a turning point. I hope we're at that point now where people are like, this is just dumb. We're done trying to enlighten you, and we're done giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So we're just going to say, stop being weird.
Yeah, we're not.
Wouldn't this be great if it finally deflated the outrageosphere a little bit?
I think it might.
I think it will be.
And that's everybody's tired of it. We've just been looking for something that we can say to make them go away.
Right. It's going to piss them off. I think they will self-destruct because they're going to get so mad. They want the fight and they're not going to get it. We're just going to be like, well, that's odd. But it's funny, but it's an interesting campaign because the other day on Twitter, there was a similar campaign, speaking of Poilievre, and it was in relation to women against Poilievre. And that was the hashtag that was going around quite predominantly. And it all stems from, what did it stem from, Steve? There was a potential
A certain
MP,
individual?
potential MP,
A certain individual?
a certain individual, yeah, that you and I are familiar with.
Who you and I have both had Twitter encounters with?
I was going to say, speaking of trying to educate the dim,
Nonsensical. Yep. Speaking of,
you guys have been you've been in Twitter fights. I don't do the Twitter fights. You guys do the Twitter fights.
I don't normally do Twitter fights like in comments. Like I'll post something, right? And I just let the comments do whatever they do because I don't really care. But this one's exceptional. So yeah, you want to go, Steve? You have the whole bio, so let's.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about Tracy Foran or Foran? Do we know?
Foran, Foran.
Foran. Tracy Foran, who is running for the. I got torn to shreds on TikTok for saying this wrong. Esquimalt. I don't know.
Esquimalt?
Saanich Suk. She's running in BC in the by-election. She's running.
I don't know how to say it now.
All of us have just deactivated that word.
Yeah.
A place in BC that starts with an E. So she's running for the Conservative nomination for the by-election. And she is really something. So her bio on her page is truly remarkable. So we're not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to highlight a couple of really, really special little bits here. She joined Greenpeace after the Fukushima earthquake, sailed on the Rainbow Warrior 2.
Admirable. I'm not I'm not fully on board with Greenpeace, but I'm largely on board.
Well, so, then you can join Tracy in her endeavors.
Yeah.
Joining the ship to Taiwan in Taiwan on its way to Japan to test for radioactivity. However, much like Patrick Moore, Tracy became disillusioned with Greenpeace and realized the organization was more about drinking parties than affecting real change. Not drinking parties.
Drinking parties.
Good heavens.
I like the idea. It's
my pearls. Let me grasp my pearls.
It's like such a band camp sort of thing. We went to a party, and it was a drinking party.
I was going to save the animals, and it was drinking.
They were drinking, and it was the worst. Anyways, it's about to take a hard right turn here. After leaving Greenpeace, she took the standard pathway that people who get disillusioned with Greenpeace take. She was recruited to manage a Volvo Penta dealership in Thailand, which primarily served yachts in the $2 to $3 million range.
So an adjacent industry, however slightly different.
Yeah, the Greenpeace to yacht dealer pipeline.
Floating. Yeah.
We're all very familiar. Yeah. And then essentially it gave her a deep love for negotiation, watching very rich people negotiate about their yachts. And so as a result, she relocated to San Francisco to sell yachts and then was quickly recruited into the software industry by some Silicon Valley tech executives. That's literally, it's all capitalized, which good for her. Where she learned on the job how to be a professional business analyst. And so now she's been a business analyst for 10 years and spends most of her days screaming at people on Twitter. And so the reason why she sort of wound up as the center of attention was because a woman shared her experience. They were arguing on Twitter. I've lost
it.
The post.
Started with an account that was talking about her husband who had died from COVID, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I've got it here. Okay. So it's a person on Twitter who was discussing her experience during COVID and said, I was providing palliative care to my late husband during COVID, couldn't access palliative care from healthcare workers because we were on lockdown. I took care of him, gave him his morphine, spoke to our doctor each day, sent the doc an Excel graph of when he needed morphine. To which Tracy Foran replied, "Oh, please do tell me how you are better than me. I beg to be enlightened." And then when asked about it, blocked the person. And then another person was talking about her and called her a C word.
Yeah.
To which Tracy Foran replied, "So I've heard."
Which is when...
which is just like, maybe don't do that.
The first reply to me sounds odd. The first reply to me sounds where she says, "Oh, please go on and tell me about how much better you are than me." Like, where's that coming from? What's that based on? And I don't. And again,
Boiling hatred in her soul.
well, it's going like with the no more benefit of the doubt. I don't think I should try to figure out what she means by that. I should be like,
No.
what the hell are you? Why are you waiting? And it's like someone stumbling from the other side of the bar to yell at you about the Blue Jays draft or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
what are you
it's
talking
not
about?
even that.
It's weird.
It's somebody like
It's
coming
weird.
across the like you talking to your friend about your experience and them wandering across the table and being like, "You think you're better than me?" You're not going to turn to them and be like, "We should unpack this."
Well, it seems very like it's coming from a very inner place. That's the thing that I'm trying to say. I don't want to give more. I'm trying to be done with no more benefit of the doubt. However, I'm also thinking that a comment like that doesn't sound like it's about the person about the thing that she's replying to at all.
No, I think part of it is that, she'd posted some odd things on Twitter, right? Obviously referencing CPC and all this other kind of stuff, and started to get a little bit of backlash about it.
Sure.
But you're putting yourself out there, right? So, and it's the internet, so you're going to get comments. And it went from 0 to 100, like, honestly. And I had seen some quotes. I had seen people who had quoted things, and I kind of ignored it until she went after the person about her late husband. And I'm like, you don't mess with Maggie, number one, right?
Yeah,
and like, if you want to be a goofball and spin your tires on Twitter, sure.
Yeah.
If you want to do that while running for public office,
not so good.
We're going to call you on the things you say.
Exactly, right? And
like, you want to represent us.
Well, not us, but now it's been twisted because, and I just in the event that Tracy sees this,
and she may, because she does follow me on Twitter.
Well, there you go. Bring her our way. If she'd like to come on the show, no, I'm kidding. As I sit here pondering the liberal attack I just lived through,
oh, heavens.
I realized it was nothing compared to what Pierre Poilievre has lived through.
Oh God.
Here's the thing. It's not a liberal attack. Then she went on to say, like, it's bots and whatever. Tracy, not a liberal, definitely not a bot. But just word of you can take this with you onto your journey. You don't have to respond to every person that quotes you or ats you. You can just let some shit go. And then maybe you could focus on your campaign instead of spending your days trying to insult people on the internet. Just a thought.
Also, important CRA. She is insisting that the images were doctored, photoshopped, clearly.
Okay.
There's no reason to believe they're photoshopped, but here we are.
I'm missing what images? What
just
images?
Allegedly. Oh, the screenshots of the tweets.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So allegedly, don't sue us. Blah blah blah.
Sure.
However, I think the thing really to highlight here is that she has been fighting for her life in the replies for days.
Yeah.
Like hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of replies to everybody who calls her out. And it's like, that is the worst possible response.
100%.
And to that, I would say, like, first of all, it's we need people to get into politics. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Need different voices, all that kind of thing, different perspectives. That's really good. It is a thankless job currently, and you're going to get piled on, especially on social media. However, you have to be aware of that. So when you get onto social media, you're like, I don't have to swing at everyone who swings at me. It's like getting poked by one person at a bar and then just starting to swing at everybody. It's like, no. That's how this is how massive fights break out. Like, there's no need for that. Just move on.
Well, and
as a politician, you can't fight back constantly. You just
can't. And there's no point to it as well.
We want to promote people entering politics. We certainly want women and female presenting people and marginalized people to enter into politics. We don't want assholes entering into politics, and that's the difference, right?
Important distinction.
So, yeah.
And she's shown herself. That's even agreeing to other comments, even though that she's saying it's doctored. I had asked her, she kept posting videos on my quote that I had done. And I asked her respectfully, I'm like, could you please not promote your propaganda on my page? To which she completely ignored. And I was like, great for showing your listening skills, right? Like it was just that kind of stuff. I think she's deleted some of her messages, but I was hoping for a block, didn't get it. Can't add it to the wall, but you know, whatever.
Well, and then she's like a logic over feelings, reason will prevail the rest of the way. Like she's just very
Charter of Rights and
sure of
Freedoms,
herself.
and you know, shouldn't harass people about political beliefs. And it was like, I don't know.
It's-
Talk to Justin about harassing people over political
Yeah,
beliefs.
really.
It is worth noting that like she really did garner the attention originally because she incorrectly claimed that Stephen Guilbeault is responsible for wildfire management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, like, first of all, he's not the parks guy, but also, no, it's provincial.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh God.
So
But,
they both have Greenpeace backgrounds, right?
big
Maybe
Greenpeace
they
fans,
were
the two of them.
drinking and it didn't go well.
At a drinking party.
At a drinking party. But like,
What do you guys
so
want to do
she
this weekend?
started
Want to
this-
have a drinking
Drinking
party?
party?
I think the funniest part of this is like her greatest source of pride during all this is that she trended on Twitter.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm blowing up. I'm famous now. She has 886 followers. Which is-
Not all press is good press in this day and age, right?
Like that's for a politician account, that is not a humongous account. That
No,
is
no.
a pretty typical.
But my heart
politician
breaks a little
account.
bit because it's like that's maybe not the right word, but it's also like unnecessary, and it's all just adding aggro and just unpleasantness to the world. And you kind of want them, you know, someone who's running again for politics. It's like don't get into it. This, first of all, this don't swing at everybody. It's not.
No.
It's never going to work out.
You
And, like,
think that somebody would have
playing-
helped her with that? Maybe she was expecting like the CPC MPs to come to her defense. I mean, I guess you
But,
can't.
like,
She's just a
playing
nominee.
defense on Twitter has never
No, I
worked.
know.
No,
Ever.
No,
I ignore
that's-
everything.
Ever.
I know.
no one ever comes up victorious. There's very few times people come up victorious on Twitter or any sort of social media
Well,
post.
Are you aware of the primary principle of Twitter? That every day Twitter has a main character and your primary goal
It's not
is
be
to
it.
never be it.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
My God.
You don't want to be Bean Dad.
Nope. Anyway, women against Polyev, and then it was men against Polyev, and so it was good. It was nice to see.
But I
So
think
thanks,
this is a really
Tracy.
good example of how the weird, like saying that was weird. Like that's my response to
That was
her
weird.
first response back to Maggie was just like, well, oh, please do go on about how much better you are than us. And it'd be like, well, that was weird. What's that for?
Yeah, what a weird thing to say.
Why would you say that? You don't have to go any deeper than that. And I'm thinking that was weird. And I think it's also maybe an effective way to combat and deflate that kind of stuff, because it's not saying you're an idiot or here's why you're wrong. Because that never works. I don't think. I don't think that ever works. As opposed to like, that was weird. I'm moving on.
Well, part of it is when you push back with facts, the most common response you get is moving the goalposts.
Sure.
Right? Your facts don't
Yeah.
count.
Yeah.
Or no, I saw this
Yeah,
study
but-
that
yeah.
says no.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you can't move the goalposts on weird. You can't be like, well, yeah, but like, have you seen this thing that says I'm not weird? Like,
Yeah,
no,
but
that's
just-
a weird thing to
It's a
have.
weird thing to say.
Right? Like,
Point proven. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it. There's no goalpost moving on weird. You're stuck
Yeah.
there.
I like it.
All right. Well, let's just cross our fingers and hope it works out. Well, that was. I feel.
Be weird if it didn't.
It'd be weird if it didn't. Exactly. We of course have to. We brought back our improvised theme song for the end of the show. We're going to do it this time. Owen was complaining that all the songs are the same. He wasn't complaining. He was just noting fact that they were all essentially the same songs. So I'm going to try to mix it up today by doing. I'm going to include some mouth pops as well.
Okay. I think we do it this time. Okay. I have an idea. We do it this time a cappella
Okay.
in the style of In the Jungle by the Nylons.
Okay, like to the tune of? We can't do it to the tune of.
Yeah.
Just in the style of.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll mess with the
Both.
melody. All right. Okay. Because we don't want to get
You're good?
taken down
I had a
No.
good instrument
big.
that I found today.
by big
You
in
can be the
jungle.
percussion section. Oh my God.
Is that for your head?
Yes, it's so good.
All right, here we go. Ready?
All right.
Here, go for it.
Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken.
Podcast
Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken.
Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken. Podcast is broken. It's broken.
It's broken.
That was pretty good.
Broken.
I feel that we're just outside of copyright there. We should be fine.
Yeah, I feel like we're probably safe. It was
No
It
one
was
will
an
mistake that
homage
for the
to.
national
It
record.
It wasn't really
close. The Shazam on my phone
Didn't
went
pick
off.
up. Oh, it did.
It did. It's
No.
like,
It did, but it thought that a goat had fallen into a creek.
Well,
Right.
not
That's what
far off.
matched the sound to.
So,
well, as long as the
yeah.
goat doesn't sue us, we'll be fine. It'll be
I'm gonna
fine.
go massage my head now.
Allegedly. Always alleged.
Thanks so much for watching and or listening. You can find us at podcastisbroken.ca where you can subscribe with your email address if you got one of those email things now.
Sign
And,
here if you want to tell the government
sign-
you love
sign-
Podcast is Broken.
Exactly.
We get 25 emails. We get to stand up in front of
Yeah.
Parliament.
Wouldn't that be great? All
Yeah.
it took was 25 emails and we got to just go and be like, yeah, we're here again this week.
Yeah, you guys owe me 15 seconds.
Costing
Cameras
us
up.
thousands of dollars in travel. It's totally worth it. You sign up with your email address and you'll get an email notification each time there's a new episode. And of course, you can follow us and subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform like Apple Podcasts or, Pocket Casts or, I don't know, YouTube. I don't know, wherever you weirdos like watching podcasts.
We love
Tin can
weirdos.
attached to a string.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You could have done that. Old school, Laura Ingalls style. I was in Avonlea, actually. And
I
as opposed to
saw.
Laura
I was
Ingalls.
jealous. You had
it
the braids
was,
and everything.
Pigtails are a good look
Yeah.
for you.
Love it.
That, just as a quick aside here, that Avonlea place was great, unusual, and my favorite part was the original, meaning like an actual church that had been deconsecrated. Is that what the word is? I guess the word is, and turned into a boom.
It depends on what you're trying to
Yeah,
talk
exactly.
about.
Like when they get Jesus out, they
They
move
tell-
the stuff out.
I mean,
They
there's deconsecrated and there's desecrated,
Yeah, it
and
wasn't
they're very
decibel, it
different.
could have been-
Jesus
some
has
people
been
would say
evicted. Foreclosure.
Jesus
You're
has
out.
moved on.
Oh, is this like one of those small town churches that gets turned into an Airbnb?
It was turned into a boom burger. Oh my god! Which I thought was like, this is
love
too
it.
good.
Was it a blessed experience?
I didn't go in. I just
Oh.
used it as a prop behind me, and I like the idea of standing in front of a church with pigtails in front of it that's got a big boom burger sign on the top. They're pretty good.
Magnificent.
Love it.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Take care of
Bye.
yourselves, folks.